I was born into service. It runs in my blood. I'm always going to serve communities. I'm always going to serve people as much as I can and use this position for good. And I really get genuine healing from helping other people. Ultimately, it challenged me beyond anything else that I could have ever imagined.
2 tours in Afghanistan. You learn to fly an Apache helicopter, which is not easy to do, and not many people know how to do that. It seems like you found your purpose in the military.
It seems perfect. And I then had the opportunity to be part of something bigger than myself. My military service literally saved me.
Donald Trump's statements about troops from non-American NATO countries staying away from the front lines in Afghanistan were not only incorrect, they were egregiously disrespectful. For someone who has not only avoided serving himself, but a person who has actually jeopardized the civil liberties and safety of the citizens of the country he's supposed to be protecting, I find his statements to be more than worthy of the backlash he's receiving and much more. That gigantic man baby consistently pushing buttons to distract from the fact that he's a racist, xenophobic, hate-filled, bumbling idiot continues to lead a legion of even more ignorant, racist, hate-filled, bumbling idiots who stole elections and continue to drive our very society into the pits of hell. What's even worse is among the backlash he's received, the only British royal to speak out was Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, aka Captain Wales. Not only is this disappointing, but it says a lot considering we just recently saw a very short few months ago, Charles, Camilla, Kate, and William all cozying up to Donald Trump. In my opinion, that is a slap in the face of everyone who has served in the British Armed Forces. Charles, Camilla, Kate, or William should absolutely speak out, but leave it to Prince Harry to carry the load of his entire family. We have a lot to get into, so let's get started.
One of Prince Harry's proudest moments, his service in the Army as an Apache helicopter pilot and a veteran of the war in Afghanistan.
10 years in the Army.
Prince Harry was so attached to his team. He says he was devastated when he was pulled out of the war zone after his top secret deployment was revealed by foreign media.
Withdrawn from the front lines of Afghanistan,
People don't get to see this. These people are role models, and they need to be celebrated more amongst society.
Prince Harry makes a special point of celebrating the servicemen and women critically injured on their tours of service.
You want the definition of inspiration? That's probably it.
How's the training going?
It's going well.
Nice.
In all honesty, Prince Harry's been an absolute legend. He was literally boosting everything, pumping everything, getting everyone going, really encouraging, drumming up support.
No one wants sympathy. All they want is an opportunity to prove themselves.
And thanks to the Invictus Games and the Invictus Games Foundation, Prince Harry, as well as his team, have given the opportunity to thousands of service members to prove just that. Today, I'm going to be reading an article that first talks about the comments that Donald Trump made, as well as several responses, including Prince Harry's. He had quite a lot to say, and I really appreciated the fact that he took the time to weigh in on this and defend the troops. They absolutely deserved it, but he should not have been the only one from his family to do so. His father and brother should have absolutely made statements. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share so that more people can find us. We'll be taking a look at an article in NBC News. It's titled, Prince Harry Says British Troops Deserve Respect After Trump's NATO Comments. Trump said troops from non-American NATO countries stayed a little off the front lines in Afghanistan, drawing outcry from British military veterans and political leaders. This article was written by Daniel Arkin and Jean-Nicolas Favette. Prince Harry, who served in the war in Afghanistan, said the sacrifices of British soldiers during the conflict there deserve to be spoken about truthfully and with respect. A rebuke of President Donald Trump's comments about NATO soldiers. In an interview Thursday, Trump said troops from non-American NATO countries stayed a little off the front lines in Afghanistan. These comments drew fierce criticism across Europe, including from British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who called them insulting and, frankly, appalling. Prince Harry, who served 2 tours in Afghanistan with the British Army, said in a statement Friday that U.S. allies answered the call to stand with American troops after NATO invoked the Article 5 Mutual Defense Pact following the September 11, 2001 terror attacks. Quote, I served there. I made lifelong friends there. And I lost friends there. The United Kingdom alone had 457 service personnel killed, the Duke of Sussex said. Thousands of lives were changed forever. Mothers and fathers buried sons and daughters. Children were left without a parent. Families are left carrying the cost. Those sacrifices deserve to be spoken about truthfully and with respect, as we all remain united and loyal to the defense of diplomacy and peace, Prince Harry added. Ladies and gentlemen, that is true leadership. In response to a request for comment, White House spokeswoman Taylor Rogers said, quote, President Trump is absolutely right. The United States of America has done more for NATO than any other country in the alliance has done combined. Trump made the remarks about NATO troops on Fox Business, telling the cable news network that the U.S. had never needed the transatlantic military alliance, one of the pillars of the post-World War II international order. Quote, we have never really asked anything of them, Trump said. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that, and they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines. It does not feel like I am quoting a president, because I'm not. I'm quoting a fraud. The comments worsened diplomatic relations with traditional European allies already smarting from Trump's push to acquire Greenland, a self-governing territory of Denmark, a NATO member. Trump also riled allies after using part of his speech at this week's World Economic Forum in Davos to excoriate Europe, saying countries there are destroying themselves and certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. led an international coalition in Afghanistan with the aim of toppling the terror group Al-Qaeda and the country's ruling militant group, the Taliban. NATO triggered Article 5 for the first and only time to date, with the British military deploying more than 150,000 troops. Starmer, asked whether his American counterpart should apologize, said that if he had misspoken in that way or said those words, I would certainly apologize. Prince Harry undertook his first tour of duty in 2007. He served a second tour of duty as an Apache helicopter pilot beginning in September of 2012, according to a British government news release.
Let me start by paying tribute to the 457 of our armed services who lost their lives in Afghanistan. I will never forget their courage, their bravery, and the sacrifice that they made for their country. There are many also who were injured, some with life-changing injuries. And so I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling. And I'm not surprised they've caused such hurt to the loved ones of those who were killed or injured, and in fact, across the country. We have a very close relationship with the US, and that is important for our security, for our defense and our intelligence. And it's very important we maintain that relationship. But it is because of that relationship that we fought alongside the Americans for our values in Afghanistan. And it was in that context that people lost their lives or suffered terrible injuries, fighting for freedom, fighting with our allies for what we believe in.
Thank you so much for watching the SharionSade YouTube channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And don't forget to comment along the way. If you feel so inclined, please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to the video. I've given more than enough commentary on Donald Trump. I think it's pretty clear how I feel about that human being, if you can even call him that. And I think it's extremely frustrating to always have to deal, as an American myself, to always have to deal with the fallout and the nonsense that comes with that oversized man baby with the tiny hands and feet and the overcompensating ego and the zero brain cells present, that giant humongous bag of filth running around with way too much access, way too many enablers, just doing what he pleases with zero boundaries or consequences. And it's impacting all of our lives. It is frustrating. It's not funny. It's not hilarious. It's not this tongue-in-cheek elbow, knee slapping. Can you believe our president? It's, oh my God, I cannot believe he stole another election and they're just letting it happen. And one thing that's very frustrating for me, and I should probably mind my comments, but something that's very frustrating to me is seeing people who are supposed to be deploying checks and balances look at us like, can y'all believe this guy? And we're looking back like, do something. Help us. I'm so sick of the people who are supposed to be deploying strategies and supposed to be taking action and who are in a position of power to create checks and balances. I'm so tired of them tweeting and getting on threads and talking about how frustrated they are and talking about how shocked they are, but they're not actually taking action. It makes me crazy. It's really frustrating. And one thing that I love is that social media has responded in kind. When those people get online and say, hey guys, can you believe what he's doing now? And people are like, yeah, we can, because you're allowing it. Go do something. Help us. That is why you are there. That is why you exist. That is why you were elected to the position that you're elected into. Go do something. It's frustrating. And I know there are a lot of people who are taking steps to manage this. I'm not speaking of them. I'm speaking of the people who are leaning into the crowd like, hey guys, I can't believe we're watching this like a spectator. No, you're supposed to be a referee. You're supposed to be a judge. You're supposed to be a person who's in there in the fight, taking care of business. We put you in position for this very reason. Don't stand in the stands with us or in the bleachers with us and elbow us. Go do something. Blow your whistle. Sorry, I was watching sports before this. That explains the analogy. But anyway, but I say that to say, his behavior, his commentary, nothing shocks me anymore, but it never stops being disappointing. And I'm in that phase. I don't want to ever become numb to it, because that is how more things continue to happen. I feel like a lot of people have become numb to it. And for that, I don't blame them. But what I'm saying is I'm being very diligent to not just tune him out completely, because his behavior still impacts everyone, not just Americans. Everyone. Something I genuinely cannot get over is this surreal feeling that we're in some kind of simulation, that this is all a joke of some kind, a sick, disgusting joke. At some point, I do feel like a curtain is going to be pulled and it's going to be, John Quinones going to come out and say, what would you do? Can you believe we've been in this, this prank for years now to see what you guys would do? And I would kiss that man's feet if he said, psych. Like, I would love for this to all just be a simulation, but it's not. This is real life. And this man puts us at risk every day and nothing is being done about it. I'm just as mad at him and his disgusting behavior as I am, and words, as I am with his enablers and the level of access he has. It's frustrating. Now, to the positive side, something I genuinely appreciate is world leaders looking at the rest of us who did not vote for this, who are not supporting this, who are not behind him, who are calling him out, but we are still at the heel of his boot and we are still being diligent to share that we do not agree with this. I appreciate other world leaders looking at us with empathy and sympathy and not essentially saying, oh, Americans voted for that. They know what's going on. They fully know that there is a group of Americans who are oppressing the rest of us. We did not vote for this. This man stole another election, allegedly. And it's very frustrating to see all the fact checkers and all that saying, hey guys, we have data that this election was stolen. We have data that Kamala actually won. And then they just tweet about it. And that's it. And every time you look at those comments, the comments are like, okay, what are the next steps? Like, go fix it. Take the data and do something with it. Like, you're telling us like we didn't already figure that out. We knew then, but that's a whole nother conversation. Y'all heard my feelings in the Project 2025 video from last year. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, one, I appreciate Prince Harry's comments, but two, I really appreciate the fact that so many world leaders are not looking at Trump as a representative of America as a whole. They see him for what he is. He is a symptom of a disease that is infecting America, much like the other mustachioed asshole that they've had to take care of before. They recognize that that's a representative of a group, not a representative of the whole. Let's go heal this group from that disease. And I hope they behave and they act and they take action and they deploy and whatever else they need to do to heal the sickness in this country that is impacting the rest of the world. Whatever needs to be done, an intervention needs to be staged. But one thing I do appreciate is the fact that world leaders are looking at us and saying, hey, we get it. We're sorry you're having to deal with that. They've been very careful with their words. They've been very mindful of how they speak about us as a whole. They've essentially looked at us with like, damn, I can't believe that's happening to y'all. Like, you almost have to laugh to keep from crying, because I appreciate that they recognize, like, we did not ask for this. We wanted a real leader. And I'm sure you want to work with a real leader. I'm sure you're sick of the fallout, whatever the impact is in your country. Enter nonsense here, because everybody's feeling the weight of this man's inadequacy. It is extremely frustrating. And whatever comes of this, whatever intervention, whatever kind of response, internally, externally, whatever needs to happen to right these wrongs needs to happen. And it is very frustrating, because it always feels like once conversations are on the upswing and it's like, oh, wow, things are becoming progressive, and like these conversations are starting to evolve and something might actually happen, action might be taken, then the infighting begins. And then it's like, oh, you're not enough of a liberal to say this, and you're not enough of a this, and it's your fault and your fault. And there's the finger pointing, and it's like, no. Let's fight afterwards once it's safe to disagree. But let's get the disease cured first. Let's not argue over the remedy. Let's deploy the remedies, get healed, and then let's talk about strategies of prevention moving forward. But let's do the healing first. Let's get this fixed. Let's right this wrong. So I say all that to say, I pray for us daily, sometimes several times a day. This isn't looking good. I appreciate Prince Harry making the statements that he made. He should not have been the only person from the British royal family to make those statements. He shouldn't have been the only person to make those statements, period, but especially from his family. Keir Starmer also spoke out. I saw a few other statements, but Prince Harry's was very poignant, especially as someone who's not only royal and a world leader, but also, or just highly regarded on the world stage, but also someone who did serve in the military. Like, that's the part that immediately, that was my first mindset of how incorrect his statements were. I was like, what in the world? Like, he doesn't read, does he? Can he read? I know there's that rumor that he can't read. I can't imagine he can't read, but I mean, comprehension might be a struggle for him. It's a struggle for a lot of people. But something that really bugged me right out the gate was the inaccuracy of that. And then two, he avoided serving at all costs. Didn't he say something about like heel spurs or something like that? Not saying that's not a real issue, but didn't he avoid being drafted? Am I correct in that? Y'all let me know the story down in the comments below. What was that about? Tell me the story. But the situation that the situation bothered me so much because they were inaccurate comments. They were extremely rude comments and dismissive. His entire approach to his position is disgusting, and it lacks leadership. It lacks basic empathy. It lacks basic common sense. And I think that's the part that bothers me. It's because I feel like I'm screaming into a void. Like, none of this is normal. We should not be experiencing this. We should not be living this way. This is unhealthy. This is dangerous. Y'all, we are all at risk. None of us are safe as long as this venom is coursing through the veins of our country. Something must be done. It is frustrating. It just feels like, again, surreal is the only word I can think of outside of outrage. Whenever I'm not outraged, I'm just in this surreal place where I'm like, I'm observing living life in a time like this. But my goodness, if I make it to see my grandkids and great grandkids, I probably won't have the energy to even tell them the level of frustrations that I feel. That's the nicest way I can put it. Now I remember asking my great grandmother questions about what she was able to read about the Holocaust. When I did a project in the 90s in elementary school, I did a project on the Holocaust, and I asked my great grandmother, who was alive during that time as an American, I said, what was available to you? Like, did you guys read about what was going on in the paper? Like, was it on the news? And I was asking her these questions, like, how did no one notice? That was before cell phones were what they are now. Cell phones were a big brick at the time that I was asking her this, but we still had phones. Obviously, we had cameras, we had TV, we had the news, we had newspapers, but back then it was very different. So I was so curious in the 90s, like, how did you not know the full extent, and what did you know, and what were your thoughts? Do you remember that being a topic of conversation in common places, like at the beauty shop? Was anyone else outraged? And I'm asking her all these questions, and she's giving me what she can remember because she was still very young at that time too. And so I was asking her all these questions, and now here I am in my 30s. I'm probably going to be answering I am going to be answering similar questions when my grandkids are here and learning about this time period, if we make it to that point. And I'm not being dramatic when I say if. I hope I have the opportunity to answer those questions should they come. And I hope we have an opportunity to even produce those kids and grandkids and great grandkids. But my goodness, I hope we make it there. So anyway, thanks to Prince Harry for speaking out in defense of the British Armed Forces, but all allies. He actually defended all U.S. allies. You know something I noticed? Again, I said this is a mark of true leadership. That's Harry. If we ever need to describe who he is in his personhood, leadership is the best word, all encompassing. But besides that, he's almost always doing the job of someone else. He is very much a see something, do something type of person. He doesn't wait to pass the buck or say, hey, is this my responsibility before I do? He does things that just need to be done. And you have to respect it. That is the mark of true leadership. Now, a couple of months ago, I made a joke when we were talking about Harry and Meghan living in America. And I was like, I'm doing just fine with my American royals. I wish that we could just have them as royals. And, we were laughing and joking. Someone actually left me a comment. Basically, I can't tell that they were screaming, but the caps implied that they might have been very angry with me for saying that I, quote, called for the British royal family to take over the United States. Like, this is what they said. There was so much wrong with it that I couldn't even get mad. But I made the joke that I loved having American royalty and Harry and Meghan here. And I was happy to bow to the Sussexes. We joke here because we're all adults. I hope and I assume that most people have understanding of nuance. But anyway, this person got so angry at me for making that joke, saying, we fought wars to not have to deal with royalty, and you're trying to make us be in another, what did they say, want us to be in a monarchy, and you want the royals to come over here and take over again and treat Harry and Meghan badly on American soil. And I mean, when I tell y'all, I read this comment and I just said, Trump's America. Sometimes you just have to look at it and you don't even have the energy. You just say, God, I'm just going to ask that you place a hand on anyone this human being may interact with today. My goodness, if they're acting like this on the internet, I pray for anyone in their path in real life. Anyway, when I make that joke, that is simply a joke. I don't want royals here in America. It's just a joke for anyone who needed that confirmation. But also, if you are looking for something to be mad about, please go somewhere else. We just like to cut up and have fun and have real dialogue. But if you're looking for something to whine about, I'm not the one. My goodness. So anyway, thanks to Prince Harry for his commentary and defense of not just British Armed Forces, but our allies. I hope to see more people speaking out and defending our allies. And I hope to see more people in general just speaking out against Trump and his behavior, him and his whole regime. We need more checks and balances, and I will be glad that it comes from all angles. So that's all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share so that more people can find us. And I will see you next time. Bye.